Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from. Welcome back to another Bitcoin technical analysis, and today I want to explain why Bitcoin could pretty easily hit $10,000 from here. So what I've done is I've drawn up some support and resistance lines to kind of better explain and show how I believe this is going to play out, as well as some lower support lines if this was to fail. So if you guys are interested, go and stick around for the video, and do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into this and get into some of the meat and potatoes of what I believe Bitcoin is going to be doing in the short to midterm future here. So first things first, I'm going to talk about these support and resistance lines as well as the EMAs, on the 50 and the 200 time scale. So keeping things simple and short, basically Bitcoin's working its way up from this support line that we've seen for a while now, back up towards resistance. Now this resistance line has 1, 2, 3, 4 touch points on a daily chart. If we break that down on a 4-hour, it's even more. But again, keeping this on the daily just so we can kind of keep it as simple as possible, so we can get the macro understanding before getting into any of kind of the micro details that we need to analyze on a candle chart, especially in cryptocurrency. So when it's working its way back up here, again, resistance won't be around, until around $10,000 or maybe even $10,100 or even $200, depending on how long it takes to get there. And I guess even more so of an if it gets there. For me, it's more of a when than an if, because I certainly do believe that Bitcoin is working its way up to this $10,000 region. I think it's very evident. It's been on a very, very clear uptrend for the last, 6-7 months now. So with Bitcoin working its way up here, there's no reason to believe that it won't hit this 10K. I don't think that Bitcoin, came all this way just to not touch 10K. If it's this close, I do see the 10K psychological resistance and even technical resistance probably going to hit. Now over here, we can see that this is going to end up being a technical resistance as well, because right over here at around $9,950, which is basically $10,000, there is technical resistance because it is a previous swing high. So not only is it going to be a technical, but it's also going to be a psychological resistance. We know that on Bitcoin. We've seen this a couple times. And when people kind of talk about a significant number, it's always, $20,000 and $10,000, because again, it's just one of those psychological things. And with $20,000 being pretty much the previous high on Bitcoin. So this would be a very, very substantial point for a lot of people. And the reason for that being is that a lot of people, they see this as a point where they maybe doubled their money or even tripled their money from the bottom, or they see this as a point of recovery where they're either finally breaking even or they're finally positive again in some of the Bitcoin bags that they've been holding. Now, if you're in some of the altcoins, this is not going to be the case, because some of the altcoins are still down, again, depending on which ones you hold. If you're holding Binance Coin, you're probably, up. If you're holding something else like Verge, you're probably still down. So with this happening on Bitcoin, I getting back into some of the technical analysis, I am looking at both the 50 and the 200 EMA over here. Now, obviously, the 50 is going to be closest, and we've talked about this on the 4-hour, and I can go ahead and move it over there now. On the 4-hour, we have seen the 200 EMA holding, and that's something that I mentioned in the last video, that as long as this 200 EMA holds, and I think this was something I was talking to the Patreons about, is that, as long as this holds, there's no reason to believe that this thing, is going to come down. Because if we've seen it hold, and I want to kind of probably get rid of some of these lines so that we can see, but looking at this over here from this perspective, we can see that the 200 EMA held very well over here ever since it crossed. It held, had a couple touch points, piercing and bouncing around off of it, had a significant run up. Same thing happened, bounced off the 200 EMA again, had a significant run up, and we just bounced off the 200 EMA again, and then had another significant run up. So it's one of these things where the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart is playing a very, very critical role in the climax of Bitcoin and how it's climbing right here, but also it's just using it as straight up support. So whether or not you guys like this or use this, I would recommend at least batting an eye at the 200 EMA. Not saying that you should use it to trade off of, but at least use it as a factor of some force. And so this is something that I've been looking at recently. The 50 EMA, not so much. Again, it's a lot less I don't know what the word would be, probably strong as the 200 EMA. It hasn't been getting respected quite as often, so I would take that with a grain of salt, at least for the time being. Looking at it on the 50, or on the daily or even the 3-day chart, I think would be a lot more significant. And so something I want to point out is that one of the Patreons actually came up to me the other day and said, do you think that it would be possible to see a golden cross on the 3-day chart between the 50 moving average and the 200 moving average? Now, something that I think is unique is because I use the EMAs instead of the MAs on cryptocurrencies alone. And so on the EMAs, you actually already had a golden cross on the 3-day, while on the MAs, you have not. Now, this isn't anything too crazy, but I do think that the EMAs play a very, very significant role in, all of crypto, especially in Bitcoin. And in fact, when we saw the dump from 6K to 3K, that was a death cross on the 3-day that pretty much, in my opinion, led to this. Now, again, there was an descending triangle over here in this area, which very well did contribute towards the dump, but also the death cross on the 3-day was a big part of that as well, in my opinion. So with us seeing a golden cross on the 3-day, for me, this is clear sign that no one can say that we're in a bear market anymore. You have a golden cross on the 4-hour, on the daily, on the 3-day. Next thing you know, you're going to probably see it on the weekly or something over like that. Not saying it's going to happen yet, but you can't really say that this is a bear market anymore. It's broken a numerous amount of swing highs over here, and now with it, approaching this 10K region, which is a very, very large level of resistance, and having golden crosses on everything up to your 3-day chart, it's really not in bearish territory anymore. Now, I want to clarify when I say that, because a lot of people think that that means that Bitcoin can't pull back, it's going to 50K from here. That's really not what I'm saying at all. And in fact, if I'm looking at this, I do have all of these target prices towards the downside, because I think that it's very possible that once this is done running, it's going to fall to one of these 4 areas before rebounding. Now, I don't think it's going to set a new low. I think that would be pretty silly, in my opinion. Not saying it's impossible, but I just don't see it happening, at all. I think the percentage and the likelihood of that happening are so small that I'm not even really considering it right now. Now, if something comes up to change my mind, I'll look into it. But, for the time being, I think one of these 4 areas are going to be where Bitcoin retraces to. Now, one thing I'm going to need to do is, once this run is over, is actually do a fib retracement. Now, again, this run isn't over. I do believe that this is hitting $10,000 from here, so I'm not drawing up my fib retracement yet. But again, these are my likelihood of areas. Now, I've explained these in past videos and live streams, so I don't want to go too in depth into them, but I do want to make sure that you guys recognize that these are my areas as to where I think Bitcoin could rebound to. And yeah, so going over here, I guess keeping this pretty simple for the end of the video. Again, resistance up here is around 10,100 to 10,200, give or take $100 there, because I think anywhere in between $10,000 and $10,200 could very, very well be the next rejection point on Bitcoin. I don't really see a reason as to why it should stop until that $10,000 area. And for support, of course, the 50 EMA, the 200 EMA is going to be a very, very strong support. And then the support line that we've seen over here. So whether you want to call this a rising wedge or maybe even just a rising channel, nonetheless, it is bouncing very, very well off of these ranges. I mean, you can see this all the way. So if it was to actually break down from here, I would imagine that it comes somewhere down to around $8,600, $8,700. Somewhere around the $8,700 range would be pretty spot on for me. That would be a touch point off of support. And if it breaks this, I would imagine that the 200 EMA would hold. So that's pretty much wrapping this up. Hopefully you guys were able to enjoy and get something out of this. This is really just kind of my overall view on Bitcoin right now. It's nothing too complicated, and I haven't been posting as much because there's really not that much to this over here. I mean, it bounces off of support. It bounces from the 200 EMA, and when my price target's 10K and it bounces off the 200 EMA, there's not much else to say because, it's just going to go up from the 200 EMA to probably the 10K range. And, my thoughts on that haven't really changed. So I'm going to try to start doing some more micro analysis of the area in between kind of these gray zones in between just support and resistance. So hopefully you guys can look forward to that coming. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, hit that like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to know what you guys think. Is $10,000 going to be the top on Bitcoin before it retraces, or is it going to go to infinity and beyond? So I want to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video.